I think a lot of people feel like you do. They look at Trump, maybe they have mixed feelings on him, but they think about somebody like Elon, who really does know a lot about AI, being in a leadership position, skinnying down government and finding efficiencies in it. And RFKJ coming in there. I know you're a fan of his, but you mentioned making America healthy again. You really get the feeling he can do it. Trump, he's been introducing RFKJ, MSG, and elsewhere by saying, we're not going to let him do anything on environment or energy. He's like, it's a little out there on that stuff for me, if that's what Trump's saying. But he said, but that stuff, right on. And that's an exciting thought, to think of RFKJ going in there and cracking down on groups like the FDA and all these others who work together to keep us sick.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, that was part of my journey. I was a Bobby Kennedy guy. I still feel like he would be the best president. I think he would be such an incredible president. And I supported him, and I was with him, and I was doing everything I could for his campaign. The Democratic Party, not Trump and the Republicans, the Democratic Party made it impossible for him to run. That's a fact. So, and then ultimately having, a non-primary, a non-democratic primary, just putting Kamala into where she was. But I went through Bobby. To me, Bobby is somebody who really understands. And by the way, also, I love his eloquence. I love that he reaches across. I love that he has so many reasons that he could spill and spew so much hate about so many people, given the history of his own family and what our government, I believe, has absolutely done to his father and to his uncle. And he doesn't do that. He takes the high road every single time. And he really understands what's going on, particularly with the health of this nation and the corruption that is going on in our food industry, our agricultural industry, our pharmaceutical industry, our energy industry, all of these industries, because that's what happens when you have lobbyists, when you have special interests, when you have money that can go from an industry to a politician in order to grease wheels, which is what we've been doing for far too long. You get so much corruption, and Bobby knows that, and Bobby really can get in there and do it. So once he dropped out, and once he and Trump really came together and they formed this unity movement, and then for Tulsi Gabbard to come in, I mean, really, Tulsi, she's how I ended up getting involved in all of this, because we became friends. I told her what I was concerned with, and that I thought she and Bobby were amazing, and that as difficult as it can be sometimes to want to stand in this Trump campaign because of those things that I might have issue with, I know at the end of the day, he's still the right of these two options, the right way to go. And then Tulsi said, hey, listen, it will, this could be a difficult thing for you, but if you wanted to moderate our town hall, Bobby and I are going to do a town hall with the Trump campaign in Michigan. And I really felt like that was, as I thought and prayed, like, God, if you want me to really step into all of this, I need you to tell me, I need you to call me into this. And then for Tulsi to literally call me and say, would you want to do this? I prayed, I thought, I said, okay, I think this is that moment where I can do what I need to do. But because, like you're saying, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump and Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard and Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and JD Vance and everyone else that they're going to bring in this team, this Avengers, this Voltron, whatever you want to call it. And they're going to get in there and actually do what Donald Trump said he was going to do the first time, which is drain the swamp. And he has admitted that he couldn't do it, and he didn't do it because he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't even think he was going to win the first time. And he had no time for his transition team. And then it was loaded with a bunch of sycophants and horrible people that were the swamp monsters that Bobby Kennedy has very accurately pointed out. And so now they're privately funding. I love this, that Trump is privately funding his own transition team, not waiting for the government. So they are ready to go. And they are not compromised. That is the government that I want. That is something. Bobby is 100%. He and Tulsi are going to be let loose to be the bulldogs that we need to hold people to account. And by the way, and they will do it fairly. They will do it civilly. They will do it in love. I've sat with both of them. They are incredibly wonderful human people that really want, and which is why, by the way, they're not it's fascinating to me that the Democrats want to tout Cheney endorsing Kamala as if that's a good thing, as if somehow that's like a feather in the cap. That's a guy that almost everyone could agree on, both right and left. Once we all found out the weapons of mass destruction was a lie, all of us could go, that's not a guy we want. That's not a guy we want to trust. So his endorsement to me is nonsense. For Bobby and Tulsi, lifelong Democrats, to literally leave their party and say, no, the polls have shifted. If the Republican Party is now the party of peace and free speech and all of these things, and actually holding big business and industry accountable, then by God, that's where they want to be, and that's where we should all want to be.
That's exactly right. This is not your grandfather's Republican Party at all, especially with this team of rivals he's put together. Jordan Peterson, this is a reference you can understand, was referring to them as a bunch of Marvel superheroes. Exactly that crowd you just mentioned. Elon, RFKJ, Tulsi, Vivek. I can't remember if there was another one, but JD. All around Trump. JD Vance helping him get the ball, over into the end zone together, like each of them sort of working on their key issues. So you're getting more than just Trump. You're getting a team that we've seen now for years in the public eye. It's exciting. If he loses, that's one of the things I'll be most disappointed about the next day. Like not just the loss of Trump and the elevation of Kamala, but the loss of all this opportunity, like what good that team could do for the country. It's just who looks at Elon and says, no, I don't want you. I don't want your mind helping us. Who looks at RFKJ and says, I don't want you cleaning up the water that my kids swim in or the food that they eat?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who think that. And I don't think that they're horrible people. I think they're people that have been propagandized to and lied to for far too long. And I ultimately, I think this is one of the greatest evils that has been perpetrated against really all of humanity, but I'll just speak for us in the United States, is that we have a media. And by the way, a lot of people within the media, those journalists, those pundits, I don't even think they're horrible people that are somehow in on this plan. I think they unwittingly are spreading a lot of the very misinformation that they accuse X and Elon and Donald and everybody else of spreading. But it's just simply not true. We have a bifurcated population in large part because half of the population or whatever portion of the population still believes the mainstream media and the stories that come out of it that would tell you that Elon's a horrible person, that Donald's a horrible person, that all of these other people are horrible people and you don't want anything to do with them. Everyone else who has already, I think, woken up to the idea that, I don't want to listen to any of that mainstream media because they're just puppeting. They're being puppeted. They are parroting. They are doing these are all talking points. These are governmental issued talking points. Whether those journalists know it or not, there is a lot of pressure through all of that. And everyone else, all of us, we're listening, we're watching your show. We're watching other people's shows. We're going to the non-mainstream, but I guess it's now becoming mainstream. So let's say that we're not listening to the legacy media. We are now tuning into where the truth can be found. And where the truth can be found because it's a lot of ideas that can be challenged. And the fact that they want to censor, that they want to get into X and they want to shut down thoughts and sentiments that are not in alignment with what they're trying to shove down our throats, that's where we get into a lot of trouble. The pandemic is a perfect example of that. There was the narrative that was being pushed on everyone across the world that we were leading, by the way, but with Fauci and everything else, the United States, in a lot of ways, we lead a lot of things. And we were saying, here's all the things you need to know. If you get the vaccination, you won't get sick. That turned out not to be true. If you get the vaccination, you won't transmit it to anyone else. That turned out not to be true. If you get the vaccination, you won't get seriously sick. That turned out not to be true. If you get the vaccination, you will not die. All of these things turned out to not be true. And there were scientists and doctors who were very early on saying, hey, wait a minute, you can't say those things. That's not true. Shut down, censored, literally their lives were destroyed. Now, 4 years later, shocker, it turns out that they were right. And there's no comeuppance, and there won't be any comeuppance. There won't be any. And by the way, and I'm not saying like comeuppance, like we should go destroy them. We should still act higher than that and love, but hold people to account. And Bobby Kennedy,
they don't even admit their error. And they're dealing with human lives. They don't even admit the error. They're happy to continue smearing like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya as some kook. Yeah. Even though he was one of the leaders on this, he was right all along. Let me ask you this, Zachary, because as I watch this, what's extraordinary, among other things, about your story and coming out is a lot of Hollywood actors who will come out and say I'm conservative, or I'm, even if you're not saying that, but like I'm ready to vote for a Republican, especially Trump. Maybe they're like not in the peak of their career. All right, like they're not risking that much in doing it. Sure. You are. Your career is on fire. It's great. You're a big star, and you're getting bigger by the week. So did you pause at all? I mean, you say you had the conversation with God about your values and how much you were going to stand up for them. But was there the other conversation with your agent who said, this is insanity, you'll never get cast again?
I mean, yeah, listen, I'm very intentional about what I do in my life, and I like to think through things and be wise as I can, which does not mean I don't blunder. We all do, we're all human. But when Tulsi invited me to go do that town hall, I knew that would be the beginning of what will be the next chapter of my life, and which would be out of this closet of not being able to speak up, even though throughout my career, there were moments where I would, or attempted to, or whatever. But, when you're surrounded by 90%, at least in, I would say, the above the line, the actors, writers, producers, directors, like that's a predominant, and that's where all the power is. That's the predominant, area of, I would say, liberal, progressive, Democrats. Tons of crew, by the way, and lots of other actors and directors, writers, and producers. But the crew within Hollywood and entertainment, there are so many conservatives. There are so many, but nobody can say anything. And I was done. I was done sitting on my hands, and I was done biting my tongue. And I talked to my team, and I said, I've been invited to do this thing. This will essentially be an endorsement of Donald Trump. I need you guys to know that I'm considering this. And to their credit, all of them said, we will support you in whatever you feel like you need to do. We're not going to tell you not to. We'll tell you that it might make this more difficult for us and for you. So, weigh that as you need to, but we will support you as a human being, because they know me and they know my heart and they know that I care. And listen, I would argue that while I am absolutely in a position in my life and in my career where I have a significant more amount to lose than other people that might come out as conservative or voting for Trump or whatever, I would still consider myself in the a B plus A minus of the stair steps that are celebrity. I'm not a part of, and have never really been a part of, all the reindeer games. They didn't invite me to those. I'm not, so I could understand somebody else, and because there's levels to this, right? So anyway, my point is that yes, I've gotten to do all these incredible jobs, but Shazam, the last Shazam didn't perform that well. Harold and the Purple Crayon didn't perform that well. I'm not trying to say, even though I appreciate the compliment, I'm in a really solid place in my career. I hope I will continue to. And I also, for what it's worth, have already been approached by lots of other people, though they have to remain silent, have come to me and said, I will hire you all day long. Like, don't worry about it. You'll work. So I'm not worried about that. Plus, there's so many other things that I want to do. I want music to be more a part of my life. I want podcasting and other things to be more a part of my life, because I like being able to do lots of different things and bring joy in lots of different ways. But like I said, I don't, when you feel God's call on your life, maybe there's some courage and there's some bravery, but really there's a lot of peace involved in that.
This year, supply chain issues have been more prevalent than ever. Whether it's the result of natural disasters like Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, global conflict, or inflation, the impacts are being felt everywhere. While they sometimes are a minor inconvenience, delays in accessing essential medications can become catastrophic. The U.S. relies on overseas sources for more than 80% of its generic medications. So what happens when there are delays? Or what if supplies are cut off? How will you care for your loved ones and yourself? The Jase case offers peace of mind for you and your family in the face of delays, shortages, and disasters. This is an emergency medication kit containing 5 life-saving antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. Simply complete a quick online evaluation to ensure you're prepared. The Jase case can also be customized with add-ons like ivermectin, EpiPens, and more. Don't wait. Consider preparing right now. Receive a discount on your Jase case by visiting jase.com and entering promo code MK at checkout. That's promo code MK at jase.com, ensuring you have the right medications exactly when you need them. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.